So I'd get you in. There we go.
Well done, Rory. Well done. Okay, so some reason the video is gone. Never mind. I can live without that for just a moment. Okay, so as I say, welcome guys. This is all about automate and integrate. It's the principles behind automation to power your recruitment marketing and the power of integrating it into your business and what you can expect. And we have a representative from Volcanic and 2Ns. But first of all, let me just introduce who I am. My name's Adam Oldfield. I'm the CEO and founder of Force24 in 2010. We're one of the fastest growing marketing automation businesses in the UK at the moment. I've personally got 20 years experience in the marketing industry, a broad range of business types, not just centered around recruitment. And I founded Force24 in 2010 out of a need. And that need was all about trying to do things that marketers couldn't do right now and try to mitigate the amount of effort that they use to do them and in order to compete. What was great was I could see the proliferation of technology stacking up in front of us, and I could see the way that businesses in the consumer world were starting to engage with their customers. And that was then the forerunner for business to business and how we as marketeers should be then operating our marketing departments. So quite passionate about bringing marketeers forwards with us on our journey. Very quickly about Force24, and it's going to be over to you guys. Like I say, founded in 2010. We support about 5,000 UK marketeers right now. So 5,000 people just like yourselves using our platform to do better marketing and have better relationships with their contacts, their customers, and their candidates and clients alike. Well, we have a 98.2% client retention rate, so we really look after our clients and we do our utmost to make sure that you are supported in your journey. We offer one thing that breaks the sort of traditional SaaS business model, which is we offer free training and support for life. One of the things that we found marketers struggle with is they come on webinars like this for a good reason, and that's because they need some help. They need to know what's happening right now, what's the industry saying, how's it going? And our job is to distill that down and deliver it to you guys through free training and support on a 2-minute SLA. We've got a pretty significant portfolio of businesses working within the recruitment sector, so our experience is pretty relevant, and we've got a great deal of insight to bring on this webinar and webinars like it. So that's about all from me. Darren, do you want to tell us who you are and who you're representing?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So for those that don't know me, my name's Darren Curtis. I've had the pleasure of working with Volcanic for the last 6 years. I founded the sales team back in 2016, so nearly 6 years. I'm sales director for new business, so typically I look after any new clients that are onboarding with Volcanic, and I'm proud to say I've worked with some of the largest recruitment organisations on the planet, from companies like Manpower and Kelly Services, as far down as sort of some of the very growing, ambitious SMEs as well. I've 11 years in recruitment technology experience. I've got 11 years of recruitment technology experience and 9 years actually in front office recruitment. So prior to working in technology, I actually worked on the shop floor. So I'm used to sort of the trials and tribulations of being a recruiter. If you just want to scroll on, Adam, if that's okay.
Sure thing.
Thank you. So a bit about Volcanic. Many of you will know who we are. We are the global leader in recruitment websites. We power over 1,800 different recruitment sites across the globe for various different businesses in various different continents and various different countries. And we power 30 of the UK's top 100 recruiters. We offer a fully maintained and supported SaaS solution. So essentially what that means is we have a single line of code solution. It continually evolves with time. We're continually working behind the scenes on bug fixes and maintenance to ensure that the platform is secure and as robust as it possibly can be. And our focus is on ensuring that things get better with time, as opposed to becoming more old and more antiquated with time. Obviously, there's a difference with design. Design does become old, but from a technology standpoint, it should continue to evolve with the business. As I mentioned, we support 30 of the top 100 recruitment organisations, but we support businesses such as, we see some of the logos, Oliver James, Eames Consulting, Faden, all the brands for Faden. We support 19 websites for Kelly Services and around 24 websites across the globe for Manpower. I won't go through all the names. Our focus is primarily on helping businesses achieve candidate engagement and higher candidate conversions levels, but ultimately trying to give them much better visibility into performance of marketing channels through very sort of an extensive reporting capability, we're able to identify channels, and we're able to hopefully save some time and some money for marketing teams, but also increase the return on those channels based on just being able to give them visibility to do so. So that's us, that's Volcanic.
Brilliant.
You, I think, Glenn.
Thank you very much, Darren. Glenn, over to you. Yes.
Excellent, thanks, Adam. So yeah, myself, 17 years within the industry, straight out of university into a marketing assistant role back in 2004, and I haven't left. Every time that I've tried to leave, something's happened, and I've hung around. I won't go through kind of my career history, but most recently, which was 3 years ago now, when I worked in-house, I was part of the staff group leadership team. So I started the marketing function there from zero. I was number one. By the time we exited the business and Cordant bought us back in 2015, the marketing team was 7 or 8 across four countries, and then I hung around for a couple of years after that. But since 2018, I've been running kind of 2 ends, which is just me, working with businesses of all sizes on their marketing strategy. So creating the roadmaps and the blueprints for them to, you know, get the best out of their marketing and their people. Away from 2 ends as well, I founded the Lonely Marketers community, which is 150 plus recruitment marketers in a WhatsApp group. And if anyone's watching this and they want to join that, please just reach out, find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to add you into that. But 2 ends specifically, I started it with the focus on working with the fast growth recruitment businesses, the ones who are trying to replicate the story I did at Staff Group. And that worked for a while, and I'm sure we'll cover this as we go throughout the webinar. With more technology available to people now, the barriers to being really good at marketing have kind of been smashed down a little bit. So I'm working with recruitment businesses of all sizes now, from startups to those really established, because I think marketing is being taken a lot more seriously a lot earlier on in recruitment businesses' journeys. Now, you know, first marketing hires are made a lot earlier, investment in marketing technology is made a lot earlier, and I'm kind of there just trying to bridge that gap to make sure that it's done right, because it's all well and good thinking, yeah, we need to do this, we need to do that, but sometimes that expertise is just missing. So I try to miss that gap. But on that final bullet point there, just to be completely clear, I don't do the marketing. I'm not a marketing agency. There's plenty of my peers out there who run marketing agencies, who, you know, do the content, do the social media. I'm specifically focused in adding that value around the strategy and the advisory piece, and building internal marketing teams, because that's my own belief that the best marketing comes from a really strong internal function. That's me in 2 ends.
Great, thanks, Glenn. Great. Right, I'm gonna stop the screen share right now, and we're gonna go on to our talk. So, thank you for the introduction, guys. And as I said, you know, I mean, you know, for those of you listening right now, there's some really sound thinking behind the comments and suggestions that we're going to be making shortly. There's a lot of experience sat within Darren and Glenn, and certainly within our portfolio of clients as well. So, look, the first thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about was quite, when we had the prep for this webinar, we had quite a lively debate about this subject, and it's about what's stopping you from embracing new technology and new initiatives to move forwards. So we just wanted to sort of do a bit of myth busting for you guys, and Glenn, you were sort of quite an outspoken well, I don't know what the word, you were quite outspoken about this particular thing. So Glenn, what is it that you think that's stopping people from onboarding new technology to support them in their journey?
I think it's changing, but ultimately people are seeing, or they do see things as a cost straight away. So founders and owners, it's like, oh, that's going to cost us everything, and where it should be seen as an investment. I'm speaking with people a lot more now, whether it's hiring a marketing head, or investing in technology, is take the same approach to investing in technology, onboarding technology, and using technology as you would as if you were hiring a grad recruiter. You're not going to expect them to do deals, get interviews, arrange client meetings within a week of them starting. So apply that same thinking and budget to technology and to email and to whatever it is now. And I think the tide's starting to shift, mainly, and we'll come on to this, I'm sure, because of the data and the analytics and being able to prove performance a lot more. But I still think there is a myth that, this is just another marketing cost that's going to go into a black hole, and it doesn't need to be. On the marketing side, I'm not putting blame on founders, CEOs, or anything like that. I think there's a responsibility for the marketers who are tuned into this webinar to build the business case of any technology, including email automation technology, because I think sometimes we run the risk of just running after the shiny new toy. So and so's using this, we need to use it. This is going to get us results, we need to use it, without actually, taking some time away, gathering some research, gathering some real data on how it's going to impact the bottom line ultimately, and then presenting it as a business case. I think that's going to get you kind of a lot more buy-in in that sense as well.
I agree. And Glenn, one of the interesting things about this marketplace that we've seen on our in our sales process is the amount of people that are saying, does it do AI? And that as a question is a really funny one, really, when you think about it. Hold on a minute, let me just probe that just a second. Let me just prod that. What do you mean, does it do AI? Is what are you wanting to achieve? What does AI mean to you? And so on and so forth. So, just talking about that new shiny thing. So I really can resonate with what you're saying there, Glenn. And just talking about that budget aspect, the budget is a funny one, isn't it? Because the black hole of things that didn't work is quite often, it's not the fact that the product didn't work, but the organization didn't embrace it in the right way. So, what you're talking about there is, that we bring on a new consultant, the consultant's got 3 months to prove themselves. In that 3 months, we've spent 15 grand, 10 grand, whatever it might be on that consultant. They didn't work out, never mind, let's get another one in. And that kind of mentality is fine in that market. I get it, it's fine. But from a new tech point of view, firstly, that 3 months of that consultant is more like the year's investment in a piece of tech through Force 24. But secondly, you've got a year to prove that return on investment. You've got a year to be on. What does that look like? And it's really, what I find is that, it's the spade doesn't dig your garden. You dig your garden with the spade. And how you embrace it and how you use it and how you run with it is one of the key things that I think that we need to really sort of instill in our marketeers to help them. Darren, I've got the same question to you. What do you think of the sort of myth-busting rumors, for the 51 people that are sat out there right now watching, or the 150 that are registered, what is the primary reason they're not adopting new tech that you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I think Glenn hit it, the nail on the head. But I think one of the other things is the time that it takes internally to get a project live. And what we see is people put off projects because of the time that it takes internally and the internal resource that's required to get something live. But by doing so, all they're doing is they're putting back the results that they could be achieving. So if somebody has a problem with, not having marketing automation, or in my case, not having a website that's delivering right, they're concerned about the 3 months or 4 months, or however long it takes for each individual supplier to get a product live. But by which time, if they keep pushing it back, we're talking a year away, we're talking 2 years away if they never do it. So, I think the biggest challenge, or the biggest thing that I see, is people worried about internal resource to actually get a project where it will probably, to get a project complete, where it will probably free up internal resource afterwards. So it's a little bit of a false economy. And I understand that businesses aren't able to take on multiple projects all of the time, because you've got to run one, then you've got to run the next one. But you've got to have a good strategy about it needs to happen. It's got to happen. We've got to start seeing an improvement, but to do so, you've got to put the investment in time. It's the same with anything, isn't it, really?
I totally agree. And Darren, the implementation point's really a pivotal one. And it's one that my piece of advice to everybody watching this right now is that, with anything in life, you get better with it as you go and as you improve. And what we do tend to find is that marketeers tend to want to do everything today, not recognizing that this journey and their thinking about this journey is going to evolve every single day that they go through the process. So it's so important that we as marketeers look at, okay, what is my burning requirement for say automation, new website, whatever it may be? What is my burning requirement? Well, actually, candidate engagement's like, okay, so tackle candidate engagement. How are we going to tackle candidate engagement? Well, we do need automation because we need to start segmenting people in lots of different groups and having lots of different conversations as we go. And so, the implementation time can be tackled by just focusing on what you need, and then knowing that we'll iterate and our thinking will change every day that we're using this, and we'll start looking in new directions, we'll open new doors, and in 2 years' time, you'll be there. But the journey starts with the first step. It doesn't start with jumping into the promised land on day one. So that's a really good point.
Adam, on that, the thing is as well, and there might be some marketers watching this who might not want to hear it, is that they haven't done the planning. They don't know what the business needs. They're not close enough, or they haven't had the opportunity to get close enough to the business of what the business is trying to achieve, and then being able to work backwards in terms of then what they need from a marketing perspective, from content through to resources through to technology. Marketers have to take that step back and kind of force themselves into the conversation of what the business is trying to achieve over the short, medium and long term, because it makes your life a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, and William in the chat, by the way, William BPS, well done for pointing that out. The challenges are coming from, in every business it's the same. As a CEO, we're still pushing for the number, aren't we? We're not saying, hey, it's all right, guys. I'm going to give you 6 months off your number. It's fine, don't worry. That pressure is always going to be there. So from within certain parts of the business, you're gonna expect this sort of this pressure, but that short-termism isn't going to go away. But one of the things that I found that can help counter that is the fact that businesses say, if you're a tech B2B play like Force 24, we found that we are a marketing-led organization, a CS and marketing-led, customer service and marketing-led organization. That means the voice of our customers and what we see through marketing drives our entire business forwards. Now, I find that recruitment is, as an industry, as a sector, is waking up to that principle. It's waking up to the fact that our customers are actually asking for something different in our approach. Our consultants are actually acting as CS consultants, and they're actually trying to improve experience, and that's then feeding into the business direction. And so what I'm finding is that if marketing take the lead, and say, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to achieve it, and this is how I'm going to do it, then that short-termism sort of disappears. I can do both. I can do the short term and I can achieve the long term if I start with the baby steps. That's, I think, the sort of principle that we're trying to get across. Is there anything else, guys, that you're saying that's common that you find is pushback from onboarding and adopting new technology and new approaches?
I think one of the things, Adam, that probably maybe affects you a little bit more is there's recruitment organizations that have sort of built their whole business and built their name on continuous sort of candidate engagement, client engagement through using the telephone, right? From picking up the phone, from making sales, from putting the phone down. You must make 70 dials a day, 80 dials a day, 100 dials a day, whatever you've got to make. And that's how they've done their business. That's the way they've always done it. Inevitably, it's those types of businesses that run a very, very, very lean marketing team because they don't see the benefits in it. So for me, it's actually education up the chain, a real education up the chain to try and make your senior leadership team understand that things can be done differently. And with automation, it's that worry, I think, for CEOs or for sales directors or whatever is in the business, that they're going to lose a bit of control because it's being dealt with by computers, right? And when computers are talking to candidates and clients, it means that our consultants aren't. And that would be a worry I could see from some CEOs, but it's until you can start to gain the data behind it as to why it complements the outbound sales activity and how it can really aid that and make the whole process for sort of new business sales a lot easier, that they start to get on board with it. And I think that's a challenge for most. I mean, you can probably talk more freely and more openly about this than I can, but often we've seen that within some businesses, some massive recruitment organizations, some that, well, I say massive, some 100-head recruitment organizations, decent size. It takes a lot to get a business to 100 heads that have one marketing exec that also doubles up as the office manager. Do you know what I mean? And it's those businesses that you've got to try and educate in a very different way to start taking on board new marketing tech and actually embrace marketing. So it's probably more a question for you. How do you deal with that, Adam, when they're businesses that have built their name on sales and telephones and their consultants being their main weapon within the business, to actually trying to educate them that there is a different way? And I suppose it lays into your hands as well, Glenn.
Yeah, so my view on this is really simple. I don't want to disrupt that. I want to empower it. So you made the point a consultant can make 60 dials a day. Well, your marketing department can have 6,000 conversations a day. And when was the last time you spoke to ASOS? Never. So I'm not saying that you can transact with a recruitment business without speaking to somebody. I'm not suggesting that. But the conversations that we're having, 60 dials a day, is our known line in the sand that a consultant needs to make in order to hit his number or her number. Well, imagine if that was 10 dials a day. Imagine if that was 10 dials a day, and then you ramped it back up to 60, and actually his number isn't there. His number is 6x on that. That's what we're trying to achieve here. And this, go back to William's point about that short-termism. Tech can cover ground. It can cover ground, but I'm going to come back onto that about covering appropriate ground, essentially. It's not just spamming the world. It's about tech can do things that you can't. And what I would say from the marketeers out there, the automation is all about saying, look, you maybe you are an under-resourced marketing department, and that's typically a result of a marketer being connected to the wheels, right? And I always liken it to an analogy of riding a bike. Your bike's got a freewheel, so when you stop pedaling, the bike still moves forwards. Now, marketeers on this call right now, tell me, if you stop pedaling, does the marketing keep going? No. So the world doesn't work like that. So what we have to do is automation means that you implement the strategies, you implement the communications over the course of time. The consultants are triggering them, or you're triggering them, or the candidates are triggering them themselves. It doesn't matter. But what's happening is you're sat above a machine looking down into the workings and optimizing it rather than pedaling that bike. It's going from walking to cycling. So apparently, we are like the 80th most efficient creature on the planet. But as soon as you add a bicycle into the mix, we're like 1,000 times more efficient than the condor, which I think is number one. But anyway, so the analogy is going a little bit far now, but you get the point. So my view is, again, I think what we're saying, and actually, Jonathan Hurst, you made a point that one of your biggest barriers, that's something that we've not ever that we've not discussed today, is the fact that we're actually stuck with our current tech. We're so in bed with what we've got. To unpick it would be a challenge. And obviously, you've got to understand, SaaS businesses run on avoiding churn. And so that's their objective. They've achieved that objective, but you still need to go through those same steps, no matter what your challenge is. It could be an awkward CEO. It could be an awkward sales director. It could be an awkward consultant. Whatever your challenge is, it's overcome with a case, because nothing is insurmountable. Data is just data. Where it points to, it doesn't matter. So listen, Jonathan, I think I would encourage you to reach out independently, because we deal with probably, 20 conversations a week where somebody's got a difficult scenario to unpick. And I'd say, the likelihood is that somebody's done this before. So, myself, Glenn, Darren, anybody, any of our respective organizations could probably help you unpick that. So, William, you've come back and you said use automation to get consultants focused on what they should do best. 100%. Using their soft skills to negotiate. I love it. Brilliant. Building and closing. Yeah. I think you're reiterating our point, aren't you? You're basically saying, get the consultants to do what they're good at. If you can take that cold aspect away from their day and let them focus on a warm seat. I always said years ago, when I was consulting on a piece of work for a big agency, I can't tell you who it is. We said that one of my primary objectives is to create warm desks. Through a rapid expansion program, we want to get consultants to come in and see that they've got a warm desk. That's how we're going to get the consultants from here, and here, because there's a warm desk that they can jump into. And from day one, as long as they've got a proven track record in the business, we can get them billing. And so that was a really, really interesting point. And that's what marketing do. It creates the warm desk. So guys, I think this is, it's getting colourful again. I love it. Let's move on. Glenn, is there anything else you want to say just before we move on to the next point, which is about linking consultants and marketing together?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good segue in terms of, a lot of marketers say they don't have time to take on projects like this because they're on that hamster wheel, like you say. But I think if you put the effort in now, it does take the time, and you want to take back the control. If you go down to marketing theory around awareness, interest, desire, and action, if you're not doing the elements of this automation or email stuff and controlling it, then you're leaving certainly the awareness and the interest piece to consultants. And the challenge with that is, and we all know, although we always say consultants need to act more like marketers, they don't. They act like salespeople. They're going in for the kill straight away. So all that awareness piece that's happening at the moment is probably not how you want it to be, and it's out of your control. And this is how it moves into linking sales and marketing, is how much of that funnel can we as marketers control, for our own sanity of looking at other people going, oh no, what you're doing, but B, to push it down to make people warm and engaged enough to be able to pass it over to the consultants, when people are hire ready or job move ready type thing. So
exactly, and that's the difference, and that's a really important point, isn't it? So of your entire candidate base at the moment, what, 3%, 2% are actually in market? So that means that 90% of what you're doing, 98% of what you're doing is empowering that 2%. So stop going for the kill. Like that, a consultant-led marketing effort would be very much, let's go for the kill, go for the kill, go for the kill. The reality, let's spec some more vacancies, let's spec some more CVs. What that's doing is it's talking to the 2%, but you're talking to the 100%. So that's a really interesting point. But I want to go, let's move on. Let's talk about linking sales and marketing. So in a traditional sense, it's sales and marketing, consultants and marketing, linking them better together. And what are the steps that we take? And Darren, this is important because I from your perspective now. So I'm going to say, from my perspective, the most important thing, as I said right at the beginning, was it's empowering that process that you've got at the moment. Now, when we send an email, we know if somebody opens it, we know if somebody clicks it, we then know everything they do subsequently on the website. And if they ever come back, we know it's them again when they come from Google or whatever, and we know they're on there. So this kind of behavioral data is key for powering consultant communications. You told me you were out of market, you told me you were happy, but 2 weeks later, you're engaging with our content and you're all over our website telling us that you got these new qualifications and you're looking at jobs that look like this, whatever. Getting that to empower the consultants is critical. But Darren, why that's important from my perspective to you is because what I find my criticism for the market has been that websites in recruitment businesses are too transactional. They are basically a home for listings, or not always. I'm sure yours are much better. But what I want to say to you is the fact that, in my opinion, to link marketing to the consultants better, we have to use the web collateral to figure out what people are actually after. So how I browse tells you who I am. And Thomas Cook, you always used to say, obviously he's gone bust now, but they used to say, you'll go into one of our stores and tell you, I want an all-inclusive holiday. I've got a budget of £1,000 per head. And we want to go from this airport. You then go home and then you'd use the website and search at 300 quid, and you'd search for a different airport. So what you tell the website is more truthful and more accurate than what you would tell. And how do you interpret that? How do you get that? And Darren, is there anything that you've seen on this, or what can you add on this?
Yeah, I think this is partially where sort of a connected tech stack plays into its hands. I mean, the ideal would be that everybody that lands on a website, you automatically know who they are, and if they navigate through a certain journey of the website, it flags in the CRM and it starts a chain of events. Now, that can happen, right? So if you have a CRM that is integrated into your marketing automation tool, your website is integrated into your CRM, and also tracking across the website for your marketing automation tool, for revisiting candidates, that is achievable. What would happen essentially is the website would alert the marketing automation tool that a recognized user has landed on the website. The journey that they've gone through can flag through the IP address tracking, which can be sent to marketing automation, which can start a trigger. The other side of it is you might have candidates that are registered. You might have a website where they have candidate portals, they have login experience, where a candidate comes back and they're automatically logged into the site. We know that they're logged in, right? So we now know exactly who they are, and it can then send again another trigger to the marketing automation tool, which again can start to surface and send out data, send out information to your candidate market. That's only achievable if all the systems are talking together. You can't do that if everything's sat in isolation, which inevitably for a lot of the clients that we see, and sadly that is a little bit the case. It's sort of, well, a website is a tick box exercise. We need a website, we must get it done, right? Ticking a box. Now let's worry about the CRM and let's worry about the marketing automation tool. But not everybody realizes that everything should be, for best performance, all interlinked. I generally feel that when you have that level of integration, the amount of data that you can provide to a consultant to make the calls warmer, to engage with more candidates, is significantly enhanced. I mean, for example, if you were to have a candidate that's registered on your CRM, that's registered on your website, that comes back to the website, but you didn't know they were looking, they were archived somewhere in the CRM, but yeah, you didn't know they were looking. They come back, they start a process of job search. They log in, something like that, but they haven't applied, they haven't done anything other. That automatically tells marketing automation, that can tell CRM, that can start a process of engagement. Your consultants are then alerted to the fact that there's a candidate that's live again. So it's stuff like that to make the job much easier for the consultant to be reaching out to the relevant candidates that so many people miss from not having that connected environment. And I'm a big believer that, if you've got tech, they should be talking to each other. Simple as that. It should be talking to each other. It should be improving the process, not just for the candidate conversion process. It should be improving the process for the consultants and for the business itself. And a lot of the time when people look at websites, I'll go down the road with this one, probably go down a rabbit warren with this one, but a lot of people, when they look at websites, they think about design, which is important, that accentuates your brand, but they forget to think about the things that it should be doing. And that's the part that they need to worry about more, I think, personally. They do need to look at brand, they do need to look at brand identity, but they need to look at the things that it's doing behind the scenes. Is it going to provide the level of return that we're looking for? And is it going to be able to provide you with the data to understand the level of performance?
Darren, that's my point, and that's the bit I'm going to push right now. So you're right. I mean, it's what we do. It's what we do. We connect websites to automation to consultants. It's what Force 24 is. But so what I think you're saying there, which is really, really, so now that you can track everything and you can push it into CRM. Cool, awesome. But what are you going to push in? So if I have a website and it's got a picture of a man or a woman saying, men click here, women click here, right? If I click it, I now know you're a man. That's magic. Now, that's a really rudimentary example. But the point is using web design as that lead in to say, what do you want to know? What are you going to ask on the website? And how's that going to change? How's that going to interrupt your navigation? How's that going to improve the experience for the user? But you're not asking questions anymore on a form, man or woman. You're inferring it through action and appending the value. That's what I'm saying. I think web design and logic and the use of the website needs to evolve to be able to carry more content, more topics. And Glenn, what's your thoughts on this? the use of content in the industry? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's average?
Kind of around the integration and the content point, the challenge that I hear and speak about and the frustrations that I hear is about stuff talking to each other. Yeah. And I get that. And there's a part of me that says, don't let, fully integrated, all singing and dancing thing, the lack of, if you like, stop you trying something. But ultimately, I think it comes down to a little bit of ownership, especially on the CRM side. I think website, Darren, marketing automation, Adam, is right. More often than not, let's go sit with marketing. CRM within a recruitment business doesn't sit with anyone. It doesn't. Like, yeah, individual consultants do whatever they want on the CRM a lot of the time. There's very few rules and processes. I'd urge any marketers listening, take control of the CRM. Don't allow consultants to do a lot of stuff unless there's certain triggers that you have put in place in terms of engaged levels, how they, they're not allowed to do certain actions unless certain triggers have been hit by the result of your marketing efforts and other candidate behaviors based on interviews. I don't believe that consultants should be allowed to jump into a CRM of any description, do a search, select 500 and send an email without any kind of data. It should just stop if certain things weren't ticked because of it. And I did this at Staff Group. I took control of the CRM, and it caused an uproar, but it didn't, nothing went down. Placements didn't go down or anything. It might have caused frustrations because individual consultants were worried that they couldn't get round and do things a certain way and be a bit sly here, there, and everywhere. But from a marketing point of view, taking that control of the CRM and the process would be key, because then you can start putting in the data that matters. You're able to see, get your lead and engagement scoring on records in the CRM that's got a lot more value. For still, if a consultant wants to just pick up the phone and do it, there's a load of stuff there that just informs their conversations a lot more.
Glenn, I mean, that's the point for me. And I was going to say, look, before we move on to the next topic, I've got a tip for everybody listening here that everybody needs to pay attention to. So this tip is quite important, and it's we've got a thing called a direct response and an indirect response. So a direct response means candidate does this, consultant does this. That's direct response. Indirect response means candidate does a selection of things and then a consultant does this. Okay. Do not do direct response. It kills engagement. So I open an email, consultant calls me. You know what I'm going to stop doing? Opening your goddamn emails. So, what we've got to do is we use lead scoring for this. And we say, look, your point exactly. So can a consultant go along and select a load of people and just start marketing them? No. Okay, but we use lead scoring to say when a contact, so everything they do is monitored, and as they do more things, the score goes up, and as they don't do things, the score comes down. So this lead score is going up, it's going down as a candidate is engaging or a client is engaging. So we have thresholds that say, wow, we've learned that when a client or a candidate reaches this level of engagement score, boom, send them into a consultant. When they reach this level, so we'll expedite it and we'll send it over even quicker. We'll put that at the top of their queue. They have to call them right now. But then from a CRM point of view, if consultants are wanting to start manipulating data, they can only pick records with a lead score of less than 1, because they're the people that marketing haven't been able to touch yet, perhaps. Or basically you can put policies around what can they do. If you want to stop it, I agree, stop it, by the way. I'm totally on board with that. But if you can't get them to stop it, you need to be able to say, listen, marketing's working that, and you'll find out your 10,000 candidates or whatever, 2% are in market. You'll have lead score coverage across 30% of that base. So you'll be actively talking in some way, just because they've opened emails, look at your website, whatever. You'll be actively talking to 30% of that base. And you don't necessarily want to disrupt that relationship until they reach these thresholds. And consultants don't really want to be touching it until they reach it either. So I think that sort of whole topic of connecting marketing and the consultants together is a big topic, and it's one that a lot of marketeers face challenges with. And Glenn, I would say probably this sits smack bang in your world as what you tackle on a regular basis.
One of the things that we've seen more often than not, certainly at the moment, is when recruitment organizations, clients of ours or prospects of ours are looking to move CRM or looking at CRM, looking at options for CRM, the marketing teams are now more involved than they ever have been.
Yes.
There have been so many, I mean, over the years, and like I said, I've been doing this gig a long time, but it used to be that it was decided by IT and maybe a senior consultant and maybe an ops director, which CRM that a business should go with. I'm just seeing more and more and more marketing directors, heads of marketing, marketing managers, even some marketing execs, depending on what business, actually getting involved in the CRM decision-making process. And I think they absolutely should, because as Glenn said, a CRM isn't just about moving candidates from interview stage to placement. It's not just about candidate contact. It is about the whole journey for marketing as well. And can they use that CRM across the business? And can they use that CRM for marketing? Can they use it for the consultants? Could they use it at senior level? It's got to be looked at in that way. Yeah. And we're seeing that more and more. I'm seeing that weekly at the moment, that marketing are getting more and more involved in the decision-making process of CRM, and they should be. They absolutely should be.
So they should. I totally agree. Now I'm going to move on. So I've got the next point, and it's been coming up, and it's a question. Email marketing, is it dead? I love that one.
You hope not.
I'm gonna just lock that one down in one very quick sentence. How many of you out there, out of the participants and people watching this later at home, have got Outlook on their computer? All of you, or whatever, Gmail or whatever the equivalent is, all of you. How many of you read emails? All of you. Okay, how many of you read boring, crappy, badly designed, irrelevant emails? None of you. So here is the challenge. How do we get our emails, how do we get you guys to see that your emails need to be exciting? People always say, are you not a bit webinared out? Are you still getting good visitor numbers? Yeah, because you know what? People, just like Netflix, people don't watch crap anymore. They still watch Netflix. They're not Netflixed out. I mean, sometimes you do actually get a bit Netflixed out, but you soon go back to it. And so the point that I want to make is email dead? No, there is no channel in the marketing mix that delivers the unique set of properties at the price point that email delivers. Fact. LinkedIn is there for you. Of course it is. Use it as well. So you can't turn your back on email. What you can, or what you absolutely have to do, is stop doing boring stuff. And I have a little, one of the things that I say is, to marketeers that building content and email, would you engage with that? And if you can't say you'd engage with it, don't even bother. I always say, be more Gordon Ramsay. You can be more Gordon and decide, is that something, would you get excited if you saw that? No, but I'm not an engineer. But no, it's fine. You're not an engineer. But what you are is a marketeer. And what marketers do is they empathize with their audience. So you need to be able to empathize with engineers and see whether they would get excited with that. And I'm sure that sort of goes across the whole marketing piece, really. It's about, as marketeers, recognizing, I know what those guys want. I know what they want, and that content ain't gonna pull. So let's zazz it up and let's be the marketeers that we got into this industry to be about and make it exciting. Do you see this, guys? Do you agree? What's your thoughts?
I think, when I've had conversations with clients or potential clients, and they've said, we've spent this amount of money on X, Y, and Z, and it just hasn't worked, and specifically to email, and you start looking at some of the messages or some of the stuff that's been sent out, you go, it's not the platform or the technology, it's the problem. It's the stuff that you're putting into it. You put in diesel into a petrol car type thing, and it's, of course it's breaking. And I think there's a key here of there's a differentiation between kind of sales automation type emails and then marketing automation. People have wised up to those emails. Hi Glenn, just reaching out, think you're a good thing. You don't reply, and then someone sends a bloody RE at the start of it, trying to trick you that you've already replied. You know, that's dead, or you know, it should die out. People have wised up to that. People, and you know what? People know automation. If you're, you know, Adam, you an email went out just you know, an hour before this webinar started. People know that didn't come from you. You weren't typing it there at that moment.
It was actually.
but we can be authentic about that as marketers. I think we can embrace the fact that this is automation, but the stuff that is in the emails, it is adding value. We're going to take you on the journey, but this is what you can expect from it. So being really upfront with the content and what you're going to deliver and managing expectations, I think is key. And if you do that right, then, you know, you're, like you said, you're going to get great results. So the stuff that I see with, you know, with clients and stuff that I hear anecdotally, when you hear about, I know we're not talking about vanity metrics, but when you hear about 40-50%, you know, kind of open rates, and then 20-25% click-through rates, that's astounding in kind of the email marketing world. But the content needs to be right, and you have to drag it back and understand why you're doing it first.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've seen examples of people come to me and say exactly what you said. Well, we spent X amount of money on bullhorn. We then bought hairfish, and no. Firstly, that's different. That's the sales automation stuff. Number one. Secondly, and then so there's this whole sort of wrapper around how much money we've spent on marketing automation or email or whatever it may be. And then we say, okay, let's have a look at the email. And it was like the little tiny bit of thought at the end was actually what we're going to say. And that's not good. But actually, one of the questions, David Jenkins, you said in the current market, what type of content pulls well? We're going to talk about that in just a moment, because we're going to move on from this subject. Darren, is there anything about email dead?
I mean, yeah, talking about email, I mean, I'll be interested to know, out of the 150 plus people that have signed up for this today, how many people actually came as a direct result of an email. I think if we got a round of hands for that, it would probably show you how important that actually still is. And I also think with automation, don't automate emails to try and make them look like human contactable emails. I think that's where it needs to stop. You know, where you've got these placeholders and you know, it just doesn't look right. It doesn't sit well with me. You get almost a rich text email that just looks like it's been automated. It just doesn't sit well. I think you can automate emails when it's a response to something, or it's something that's relevant. Like if somebody signs up to something, you expect an automated email back, and you expect it to be in a certain format, and you will engage with it. If the content is right, if it's something that you're looking for, you get the right emails, you're going to look at it.
Yeah.
Like Newcastle United send me automated emails. A lot of the time I don't read them because it's us losing at the weekend. But
you hate the product, yeah.
I just delete them. No, it's stuff that I want to be reading. So if the target audience that you're email blasting is right, if the content is right, regardless of whether it's automated or human written, people will engage with it. And that's the challenge, is getting it right and getting it to the right people, as opposed to just a generic email blast. And that's where you guys, Force 24, sit in so nicely, because it's targeting the right people with the right message and the right content, right? So people are inevitably going to open it. There's instant familiarity with that subject.
You know, that's the point. What you said sort of backs up what Rachel has just said on the chat right now. And it's like, you know, I don't really mind if it's automated or not. It's about delivering the right message to the right person at the right time. You know, when I get a flight reminder email from Jet2, I'm not. Oh my God, they've cheated. They've sent it by automation. It's disingenuous. But they also haven't sent it from their CEO or whatever. But that's absolutely fine. The point is, right message, right time. I don't care. It doesn't matter how it got there. I'm going to talk now because the point about you know, what content resonates, and there's a step before that, in my opinion. And that is the fact that segmentation is obviously a big key. Now, the majority of people on this webinar will class segmentation as butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, or by a skill type or a demographic or whatever it is. But it's an implicit variable or explicit variable of that contact. You know, but what we're saying is that, okay, but that doesn't take into account the fact that 2% are in market, 15% could be pushed, 30% will engage with you, and the rest aren't interested. Right. So take that into account. We've now got butchers, 2% in market, 15% of those butchers could be pushed, 30% will engage. Right. How are you going to treat those all differently in that segment? And this is where automation obviously is what it's all about. It's about firstly understanding those segments. So you should have 3 segments: in market butchers, could be pushed butchers. What you call it something better than that. You'd have the engaging butchers, everybody else. So as a marketeer, you might have 3 flavors of the same message. Maybe have 3 flavors of the same message, but you're still talking to the butchers, the bakers, and the candlestick makers. Now, in terms of what content pulls, what we see is, right, okay, we have a pyramid, and this pyramid looks like this, and it says, at the bottom, you've got awareness comms, okay? Awareness comms are to everybody in the could be pushed. No. So you've got the in-market and could be pushed, and everybody else is the people that engage and the people that aren't. They're in an awareness phase of your communications. So your awareness phase, and this is in our guide, by the way, there's a QR code at the end. That awareness phase is conversations like things like salary guides or thought leadership pieces around certain topics within the industry. My personal view is, as a recruitment business that specializes in oil and gas, you should be aware of every single thing, political, physical, environmental, that affects those individuals. And you should be able to provide leadership on those issues that affect those individuals. It's critical for you to understand. It's critical for the consultants to be able to place these guys. IR35, it's a big thing. Well, we know what it is. We understand it. So let's talk about how we're going to overcome it. That's been done to death, by the way. And so this all sits in this awareness phase, okay? But then you identify people that are starting to engage. This now sits in a commercial phase. And these commercial contacts are the people that you stop saying things like, oh, IR35 is going to change the world, whatever. And we start saying to these people, you know what? You'd benefit from a 15-minute chat with one of our consultants. You up for that? Again, through creative, not a disingenuous sort of automated, I'm a real person, but I'm not a real person. But, giving them what we call the next best action. The next best action is, I've listened to what you're interested in. I think the next best thing for you is to do this. The next best thing to do is to do this. And then above that, you have the human phase at the top, which is your 2% of people or your 15% of people that could be pushed. So 17% of people are in this pyramid at the top, which is human. And it says, stop talking to them on email. Get this to a human. And it's that pyramid that we've got to understand. Now, the final thing, but if I push it back to you guys, is when we're talking about content, one of the things that I said a moment ago, empathy. You guys, if you're an oil and gas specialist and you're working in the oil and gas industry and you're doing recruitment for oil and gas, you know every single thing that's affecting their world, okay? There was a crash, let's say, a helicopter crash on the oil and gas, whatever. We now need to create content around that thing. Now, I've got a technique for this, and that is the fact that we write a headline or a subject, a headline, nothing more, a headline. How's this going to affect safety for transiting to oil and gas rigs? How does the helicopter incident and whatever? And we make it and we review it and we write the headline. We've not written content yet. We've written a headline. And then we say, and we get it, we refine it to a point where, wow, that's an exciting piece of content I would read. I empathize with those guys that are getting on that helicopter every single time they're going out to work. I empathize with the fact that they are crapping themselves and they have to go through that training. And I read that statement that you've honed and rationalized, and then you put the content to it. So this is what, as marketeers, we do. We build creative arguments, and we build that knowing that our guys are going to love it. And then we have the resource, because you know what? I'm on my bike and I just stop pedaling for a little bit while I focus on content. There is no way you can do that if you're pedaling and the machine stops when you stop pedaling. So liberating marketeers from the boring stuff to focus on the awesome stuff is what it's all about. Anyway, I've monologued for too long. Over to you guys. What do you guys think? Darren, what's your views on shifting of messaging, anything with content, anything along these lines? Is there anything that...
Yeah, you're right. It's absolutely imperative. I think nobody wants to get the same type of comms over and over and over and over again. I think if you've engaged with a business once, you shouldn't then get the same engagement email the next time. It dependent upon, and you've covered it perfectly well, dependent upon the engagement with that initial email, the next email should be significantly different, and the next, until such a point that it reaches, I mean, in our business, an SDR team, or in consultancy business, you know, with the sales team or whoever it might well be, to actually start that human engagement. It makes it significantly easier for the people picking up the phone for the first time. Nobody likes cold calls. Nobody likes it, right? Nobody making the calls. Well, some strange people do. Nobody receiving the calls, but warm calls is significantly different. It's still, it's like a lukewarm call, right? It's a lukewarm call. You know, they're almost expecting it to happen because they've been engaging with your content. The people making the calls feel a lot more comfortable, and they also have a knowledge base about what they've been looking at, the various things that they've been reviewing, and it just makes the whole process much more aligned.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say gone are the days of cold calling, but I think there is a better way of doing it, and that is following that approach that you've just laid out. It's got to increase performance. It has to increase results. It has to make the teams, both our teams and the people that are actually getting the calls, feel better about the process. And inevitably, it's going to open up a much more, a much more in-depth conversation.
Engaged audience is the point.
Totally, yeah, totally. And I'm all for that. I mean, you know, we've used automation for a lot of years, and you know, tracking engagements and making sure it's the right time, and making sure we've seen the right, you know, they've been visiting, what they've been viewing. And it just allows you to be more consultative. You know, if for example, a brochure's gone out and that brochure's been viewed and they've hovered around a certain page on it for a certain amount of time, they've probably got some questions on it. So why not focus the call on that part?
And exactly
tell somebody something, yeah.
Exactly that point. And it's that, going back to that, you know, in this awareness phase, you know, you get a consultant who's going to then come in like a steamroller and be like, right, so you're looking, or, you know, it's no. They're engaging in this piece of content. Hey, did you see about that content?
Yeah.
That was so cool. Did you read this bit? So what we do in our business is we have marketing-led value sessions with our SDR teams. We've got SDRs and BDMs. And those teams get value-led sessions. So when we produce content, heavyweight content, they have to read it. They get a value-led session where it's a half an hour session saying, this is cool about that because of this. This is cool because of this. This is cool. And using that kind of language that gets them pumped up to be energetic and passionate about the content. But Glenn, I've got a question for you. I mean, how do you feel about this content creation piece? How do you feel? Do you feel that marketeers truly embrace this part of their role and get truly excited about it? Or do you feel that content creation is one of those things that, what am I going to do now?
I think generally, you know, not to put all marketers into one bucket, but if I look at everything, marketers tend, and you know what, this might be pushed down from higher above, they tend to do the exciting stuff, do all of the exciting stuff, do the white papers, do the big events, you know, do the massive interviews, and focus on all of that content, and forget about the awareness pieces of content, the boring bits of content, that stuff that you mentioned at the bottom of your pyramid. And I use kind of a similar model. Is like, you know, sending out jobs on a weekly basis is still relevant to the people who want jobs on a weekly basis. So don't not do it type thing. You know, very simple stuff of, you know, if you want to send out the 5 greatest news stories that have happened in life sciences over the past week to some people, send it out weekly. But have something, if someone is opening that kind of stuff, say 10 weeks on the trot, pass them over to another funnel saying, oh, you might like some of the other content where our consultants have been talking about, you know, stuff in life sciences as well. So I think the challenge is working out what your pyramid is. And you know what? Focus on those bottom levels of the pyramid. That's the stuff that can be automated. and then work on the sexy stuff if you like afterwards.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And one of the topics that we're going to talk about is this commodification of this effort. So, you know, the subject was you're wasting time, do more with less. And it's sort of, again, one of the big things that obviously as an automation company, we're all about is doing less work and spending more time thinking. And that, you know, the analogy of the bike that I've given a few times is one of them. But one of the things that I find that as marketeers that enabling you to commodify everything that you're doing, and I have formulas for everything that I'm doing. If I'm building an email, I've got a formula. I know what it's going to look like before it's even built. It's critical that I've got that, and it should take me no more than 5 minutes to build an email. 5 minutes. All right, writing the words can take me as long as I want. I want time for that. But I don't decide, right, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put this here, that there, that there, that there, that there, because that's a waste of time. There's already thinking that says that's how your email should look. Just don't mess with it. Just that. And you can iterate it. But if you're going down and you're creating emails and then automation then takes you another 5 hours and it has to be signed off by 10 people and we have to speak to whoever to get it. No. I want you to be able to build an email. I then want you to recognize, one more very important thing. If I'm going to say something to you, I have to say it to you 6 times. In this webinar, I've mentioned that bike thing 3 or 4 times, 5 times now. And that's because for it to sink in, I have to say something to you 6 times. That's how it works. Email is exactly the same. If I'm promoting a webinar or a piece of content, if I just think one email is going to hit that nail on the head and that's it, it's a waste of time. It's not going to happen. I need to touch it 6 times through my email communications. And I'm not saying load one email up with loads of different things, because then that further dilutes the message. But I work into my comms strategy the fact that I'm going to touch you with it 6 times. So take that into account. My email 1, I've got to produce 6 out of that. So I go back to my original thing where I write down the title of the Word document. I then write down 6 titles for my emails. How we talk about the same piece 6 times with variation from different angles. But the email is 10 words, 1 button. That's Microsoft's official view. 10 words, 1 button. You're never going to hit that. But you know, if you're producing lots of news articles or lots of different things in your email, stop it. Keep it simple. 10 words. You're never going to do 10 words, 1 button. That's the 20 words, 2 paragraphs, 1 button. Whatever. But know where you are on the spectrum. So commodifying that effort so I can spend the time on the content. I can get that right. Or do you know what? I'm a marketeer. I hate content. Do you know what? I'll spend some money on getting a partner that can produce content. And that's where I'll put some money in. That's what I'll do. So, Glenn, since you're the first, what's your views on this? And just while we're doing this, I'm going to close the door so you can't hear the lawnmower outside. So carry on.
I think as marketers, we can kind of get stuck in our bubble and we always want to try something new. And maybe if it didn't work straight away first time, it's like, oh, we need to change something here, there and everywhere. But we've also got to give it the time. I think Maria actually mentioned she's a designer it looks like in the chat there, and she was talking about rebranding and emails for certain UX. I think you're completely right, Adam, is have a style for each type of content that you're sending. Some of that will be just text. If you are promoting a webinar, there'll be a certain style to that. If you have got a new blog that you really want to send out, every time a new blog goes live, it goes out to your audience. There's a certain style for that, as well as the style for the follow-ups, but stick with it. Create the style, sign it off. You're happy of it at one point, stick with it for a year.
Create it. Tiny iterations.
Yeah, because it'll work, but it also just creates that familiarity. You've got to remember the people receiving your emails and looking at your brand never see it as much as you do when you're working your 8-9 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I think you can get blinded by that and you can get bored by it and it can become over familiar to you. But for the majority of all of the audience, the people who you want to engage with it, it goes in there and comes out there, especially in the recruitment world. We're not Netflix. We're not Amazon. It's it's a little bit of noise with recruitment brands. So you do need to create that consistency and that familiarity throughout, you know, with what you're sending from both a design, tone of voice point of view.
I totally agree on that. That's a really, really good point. Just an FYI, recall on email is set to be, recall on email is about 8 hours. And you can test that. Try and remember one email you received yesterday. You can probably deep down somewhere in the memory banks remember maybe one, but you
Depends how good or bad the email is, surely.
Oh, well, yeah, relevance is key, you know, and Rachel made that point a while ago, and relevance is the key. You know, if you're going on a flight with Ryanair tomorrow and you get an email from Ryanair, you know, you're going to remember that, aren't you? Oh, I got that email, I need to look back at that, whatever. But, you know, I'm talking about a B2B, let's say, acquisition email, you know, the sort of the kind of comms that you're sending right now. What is it? Is it going to, no. So the reality of it is, what we've got to do is recognize that fact and recognize, as Glenn says, I'm looking at it 8-9 hours a day. I'm getting bored of it. These guys haven't seen it. 1 in 6, which is why I say you have to do it 6 times. The average is to expose an addressable base, you have to touch it 6 times. So that might take 6 weeks. So that means your average punter gets to see your brand once every 6 weeks, which means that, you know, you're 9 hours a day, 8 hours a day versus once every 6 weeks that they forget within 8 hours. Just put that in your melting pot and just think about that as a why email potentially is underperforming at the moment. Think of it, you know.
I think as well, you know, if part of your kind of your email marketing strategy, you know, what do you want to become famous for? If you think, you know, someone in the recruitment industry, you know, who a lot of people will know, like Hung Lee, he writes his recruiting brain food. He's famous for that landing in people's inboxes at 7:30 on a Sunday morning. People expect it, but he's been doing it for, you know, 3 years or longer. You know, I send a recruitment marketing email that lands in people's inboxes at 8:30 every Monday. You know, part of it, if you stick to it, you know, I've been doing it for, I think this week's one's going to be 82 episodes, and
wow.
It's slowly increasing, and people just expect it, type thing. So always try and, you know, become fake. If you can make part of your email marketing strategy, you know, right, let's become famous or known for something as well. That will always be quite useful.
Love it. Guys, I'm a little bit conscious about time now. We've overrun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share this slide, which is where you can download one of our guides that talks about this on screen there. But whilst we're here, Darren, do you want to is there anything else that you want to say on this particular point, or do you want to?
No, I don't think so. I think it's been a brilliant conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, absolutely enjoyed it. So thank you to everybody if we're wrapping up.
Well, there's one more thing that I want to talk about, and this is the most of the marketeers on this call will be experiencing issues with this in some way, and this is email deliverability. And this is a massive subject that I could talk about for hours, but I'm not. I'm going to keep it quite simple. What we're doing in email deliverability is, the SEO is a big part of everybody's world, and most businesses have some sort of relationship with an SEO agency somewhere. No business anywhere has got a relationship with an email deliverability expert, right? And it's as complicated. So the 2 biggest businesses on this planet, Microsoft and Google, or some of the 2 biggest, own email infrastructure. They own everything. When I send an email to 10,000 people, I send 5,000 to Microsoft, 5,000 to Google. I don't send 10,000 to 10,000 different people. I go, here you go, Microsoft, here's 5,000, here you go, Google, here's 10,000. And of course, the biggest businesses on the planet are using sophisticated algorithms to understand A, past performance, credibility, how good you are, B, how people have engaged in the past, and C, what happens when they send this little one now. And so every single thing that you do is being scrutinized and logged in from a deliverability point of view. If you move from MailChimp to Campaign Monitor, that fixes delivery and back again, doesn't work anymore. You get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until you disappear into this sort of oblivion of email doesn't work. Now you have to, the big takeaway for you guys today is Everybody right there, right now, is trying to ram more into their audiences. I need to send more, more, more. We've got to flip that. Who can I take out? I need to take out more of my audience. If somebody has never opened an email from you in the last year, there is no point sending an email to them now. Or if there is, we should put them into a furlough strategy where we email them much less frequently, once every couple of months. We send them a really compelling, engaging piece of content to see if we can transfer them back into our engaged pot. But I have got to start looking at my audience and saying, it's just maths. It's just maths. If I send an email out and I get a 10% open rate, Google and Microsoft are saying, that's rubbish. That's not good enough, and we're going to start sending you down. You need that 20, 30, 40%. That's where it needs to be. And we get there. How do we get there? Well, simple. We just take out more people that aren't engaging. And all of a sudden, the maths, our open rate's now gone to 12%, now gone to 14%, now gone to 16%, because I'm just taking out the bad ones, more and more and more and more of them. And then it's just maths. And Google's saying, that's all we want you to do. Just take out some of the crap. Stop wasting our time processing data that isn't going to go anywhere. Try and deliver a message that's relevant to people that want to read it. And then we'll promote you. And that's all it is. But obviously, there's a lot more goes into it, a lot more. And it's sometimes very hard to see the wood for the trees on this one. And we'd very much like to talk to anybody about email deliverability. And one way you can test it, take your obvious Microsoft email addresses, MSNs, whatever, Outlooks. Take your obvious Google email addresses, Gmails, whatever's. Try and send an email to just those. Just one campaign to the Google, one campaign to the Microsoft. See what the open rate is. I can almost guarantee you one of them will be 12%. One of them will be 0.01%, usually Microsoft. Most businesses out there, and the blended conversion rate looks like your 12% open rate that you get right now. But the point is that most businesses out there right now, if they aren't paying attention to this right now, are being very heavily scrutinized by Microsoft, and they are killing you, and you don't know it yet. So take some of the obvious ones, try it, and use that as a canary down the mine. When all of a sudden that Microsoft pot starts bottoming, you need to form a relationship with somebody like us that can actually work with you to improve that. Anyway, that's anything you guys want to say on that.
You're the experts on deliverability.
Right, okay, guys, listen, thank you very much for your time, Glenn. Thank you very much, Darren. It's been wonderful chatting. We really enjoyed it. We've had some great comments, and it was good to see you. So thanks for everybody who joined in, and thanks for coming. We'll just quickly stop that share. We'll hopefully see you at the next one. Oh, we're scaring us. William, if you want to chat about that, happy to chat about it. Look forward to hearing from you. Cool. All right. Cheers, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.